All right. Hello, my name is Eric Dirks. I'm with the IDCTA. I'll be your host this evening, and with me I have a very special guest. Not only has he accomplished being a gold medal team member, a gold medal team member at the age of 21, but he has competed on and off teams at major competitions all over the world, including Samur, Blenheim, Lumullen, Hartbury, Babington, the WEG at Aachen, Germany. Just an amazing career. And Will has been somebody I've always was very fond of with his personability, shows, and very entertaining. And of course, he's got a lot of metaphors to share with us. Will, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
You know, I struggled how to start this interview, but I just want to say on the behalf of myself and the eventing community, we're really sorry to hear about Antigua's passing. He passed at the age of, how old was he?
He was 32. Yeah, and you know what an incredible horse. And he was he was stoic all the way up to the end and left on his own terms. And yeah, I always knew the day would come. Nothing could have ever prepared me for it. He was a great friend, and I'll miss him every day.
Yeah, I wanted to spend a little bit of time. First of all, you've blasted on the scene, and I want to say it was you that Jimmy Wofford mentioned in the Chronicle coming on the scene at Rolex that he's going to be that who's that kid going around.
Yeah.
And it got my attention right away. It's like, who is this person? Because growing up and you wanting to get there, and you see this young man just barreling around like nobody's business on a horse that just knew its job. Tell us a little bit of a prequel how Antigua came into your life and how you started, because was he your young rider horse too?
No, he wasn't. I grew up on a cattle ranch in Texas, and did a lot of ranch riding as a kid. In Texas and New Mexico, we had a big ranch in Cimarron, New Mexico, and I had to be different, so I wanted to ride English and jump, and I always had off the track thoroughbreds that I had kind of brought along, and I had a horse called the Big Easy who I took to young riders in the year 2000 and the year 2001, and then I became a working student for Philip Dutton, and all the horses the two horses that I went to Phillips with were off the track thoroughbreds. They were very, very strong. All the horses that I had ever ridden were really strong cross country, and I'd done Radnor that year in 2001 on the Big Easy, and Philip, said, look, if he sat kind of my parents and I down and said, if Will wants to really have a go at this, he's at a point now in his life where he needs a horse that can really teach him something. And I've not ever had that. And he knew of this horse, Antigua. He had seen him in Australia. He was 11 years old, or 10, coming 11 at the time. And
did he compete in Australia too?
Yep, he did. He competed up to the advanced level with an amateur owner, and she had started a family. She had two really young kids, and it was at a point, in her life that the horse could go on and do more things, and she was starting a family. And long story short, we got him, not ever really thinking. I mean, in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, this is going to be the horse I take to Kentucky, but he was more to help me learn how to ride. And I did not teach that horse a single thing. He taught me everything I know. And he did. He taught me how to go fast cross country. He taught me how to not pull cross country. And it was really funny. He knew from the day I sat on him the first time I sat on him in Australia, and when he got over to the States, he knew he had this, parental role of me, and we had this really cool bond. And yeah, he was you know, I did 8 4 stars, oh, now 5 stars, 4 long format, 4 short format on him. I did the last year badminton long format. Um, and he took me all over the world and took me to my first team, took me to the Athens Olympics, took me to the WEG in Aachen. And, um, he did it. I can't take credit for any of it other than how lucky was I to go along for the ride, because he was a horse that loved the sport and he loved his job, and he took his job really seriously up until the day he died last week. Um, he wasn't feeling well. We had he felt fine all day. I had turned him out and he was fine. We went to feed him dinner and he was laying down and he didn't want to get up, and so I got him up and he would follow me around the paddock and chase after me, and he did that all the time. And I actually have a really cool video that one of the girls took, and it's kind of our last play in the field. And I guess I didn't think that was going to be it, but looking back, I think part of me realized it was. But he nudged me around the farm, and that was the week before he died. And he got the most. He came in every day. He had to come in every day. He would not stand to not be a part of it. That's Nat in that picture. She's managed my farm for a long time now, and it was always a running joke of who actually managed the farm. Was it Brad or was it Nat? And
Well, just amazing. Just to back up a little bit, did you always want to be a team rider or have the dream of going to the Olympic Games since you were a young rider?
Ever since I was a kid, I saw the '88 Olympics on TV, and I said that's what I want to do. And I worked hard through high school, and I brought horses from off the track up to the advanced level, with the help of wonderful people. Kathleen Zins, Mike Huber, Bobo Rowe, Carolyn and Harley Stimmel. I had really, really awesome guidance, being from West Texas. And I said when I posted on Facebook that Antigua had passed, I said, I thought I would have something profound to say, and a eulogy that would encapsulate the impact he had on my life, and maybe those words will come. But he taught me what a work ethic is. He taught me how to think in slow motion so we could go fast. He taught me how to just keep going no matter what, and he laid the foundation for me to have a career that I had dreamed of since I was a kid. And I owe it all to him. That was the last thing I said to him was,
Oh,
you don't owe me a thing. I love you, and I'll think of you every day.
yeah. He had an incredible cross country record where he hasn't had even a jumping penalty through all his cross country.
No, we never had a jumping penalty. I think
So, I mean, you could sleep easy at night after dressage.
Yeah, he was always he could get a little bit wound up on the first day, but he was an amazing cross country horse. And I mean, how he got me out of some of the distances I got him to, I'll never know, but he did, and said, yeah, that you should have pulled on me a little bit more there, Dad. Or he taught me, he taught me so much. And yeah, he was an amazing cross country horse.
Now, Karen's, I heard an interview with you before on Major League Eventing that Karen Stives had a profound quote to you, when you were on the team. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah, I mean, Karen Stives was a huge influence for me, and I admired her, just the way she approached everything in life. I didn't know her when she was competing, but I definitely watched a lot of videos and really looked up to her. And I was at a friend of mine, Jane Murray's 50th birthday party up in Hamilton, Massachusetts, and it was right after the World Games in Aachen, and we had finished fourth as a team. And she came up to me, and I hadn't seen her, and she gave me a hug, and um, she said, "Hey, well done at Aachen. Don't expect your next one to fill his shoes." And that really stuck with me. And every horse I've had, every horse I get on, it's been a philosophy from that moment on, like to meet each horse I come in contact with as an individual and accept who they are and don't expect them to be anything other than what they are. And um, you know, no horse will ever fill his shoes. I've had horses that have given me different shoes to gallop around wonderful competitions in. But that was a comment that I've really lived my career by.
So was Antigua like the first horse leading you now into your professional career, where you're probably getting your own farm and starting your own business, I'm guessing. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, he was the one that when I left Phillips as a working student, and I had taken a job in North Carolina where the Four Horse Trials used to be, and I worked there for about 5 months, and then um, Jim Cogdell, who I have a ton of time for and a lot of respect for, he wanted to kind of go more the route of running a competition than the producing horses and owning horses, and so I ventured out on my own and rented a place in Southern Pines and had other horses coming up, but Antigua was really the um, the glue that kind of kept the beginning part of my career together, and enabled me to um, have a resume that that I could that that enabled me to um, promote myself, or get money behind me to get other horses, or um, to ride other horses. And like I said, he taught me what a work ethic is. And every day I got on him, he went to work. He never, like, it was just his job, and that he instilled that in me, that we get on and we feel what we need to work on, or we have a plan of what we're going to work on, and um, we work on that to the point where we're satisfied, and then we you know go home and think about it and make a plan for the next day.
So now you're starting up horses after Antigua and getting your string. And I can't say how many times I've seen you on that short list. I mean, year after year, you're producing horses. And where is, first off, where is your base?
I'm in Hoffman, North Carolina. I'm about 15 miles south of Southern Pines.
Hmm.
um,
And that's where you primarily started your business then?
Yep, I rented places in Southern Pines. I rented from a wonderful couple, Tex and Donna Griffin, um, after the Athens Olympics. When I went to Athens, I was, well, before, when I came home from the Pan Ams in 2003, I moved to Southern Pines and I rented a farm, um, which was a great farm. It had an apartment above the barn, and I had 3 horses, and then I just drove around town and catch rode. I would do my horses in the morning, and then I'd go ride a bunch, teach a few lessons, just you shuffle around what you do when you're 22 trying to make a living in this sport. And uh, then I made the short list for the Athens Olympics, and then that year uh, there was 5 to the team and 1 reserve, and I ended up flying to Athens as the reserve. But when I was in Athens, that place that I had rented got hit by lightning and burned down. So I had lost all my what little housing stuff I had, but all my tack and blankets and everything that wasn't with me with that one horse. Luckily, I didn't have any horses on the property. So when I got back from Athens, I actually met Tex Griffin. I had a Athens 2004 shirt on, and I was at a local grocery store, and he said, "Oh, are you, Will Faudree? I sorry to hear about your barn. Congratulations on getting there. You know, we have a barn and a cottage that no one's in right now, and if you need if you want to come have a look at it." And so I actually followed him from the grocery store that day and went and looked at it. And then I lived at their place and helped them. And they were wonderful, are wonderful people, wonderful supporters that really helped me kind of pick the pieces back up when I lost my farm. And I was there from 2004 until 2008. So I went to I did badminton in 2005. This picture actually was me about to start phase A at badminton when it was still long format. And I was there through, then the Aachen World Games where I was on the team. And then I did Burley in 2007 on Antigua. And then 2008, I went to Kentucky. I was shortlisted for the Hong Kong Olympics on him. And my vet said, "Oh, there's this farm down in Hoffman. It's not far from here, but you should go have a look at it." And I came down, and it was just, it was an old rundown barn. It had a tiny little, they called it was two properties. It was 30 acres and then 15 at the back. And the 15 at the back they called it a dog house. It was just a little 1-bedroom thing. It had dog kennels, and then up at the front it had the shell of a barn and an apartment, but it didn't have anything. It was all dirt floors and nothing. And I was like, yeah, it's great, let's get it. So I've
And
always,
from what I understand, it's quite a training facility now.
yeah, it is now. It has definitely been what's the expression? Idle time is the devil's playground. It's really bad when I have quiet. COVID was not my friend because I'm constantly designing stuff and adding onto my house. And I have a little bit, my house has been added onto, I've added onto it now 4 different times. And so it's a little bit like the Winchester house in North Carolina, but it's very eclectic and unique. And I love stuff like that. And then the horse part is, the barn is very functional. It was good that I got to design it and piece it together from all the different barns that I had worked in. I could take what I liked and what I didn't like, and make it into what it is today. And then in 2008, I'd got the farm, I think closed on it in October. I came back from Fair Hill and came straight to this property, and we didn't even have stalls yet. The horses were going on holiday. The stalls were being built. And I only had like 4 horses at the time. And my sister, my sister was diagnosed with cancer in May of 2008, and she died on November 22nd. And it was very aggressive and very, it happened so quick. She was a very fit, healthy young woman and never smoked a cigarette a day in her life and died of esophageal cancer. Just,
I remember I was at a memorial there at your farm.
Yeah.
For her, and it was, and you could just see you've done a lot there. Probably in memory of her.
Oh, absolutely. No, I've definitely got some good people and good animals looking down on me and helping me out. But yeah, 2 weeks after her death, I was teaching a clinic in Louisiana, and I was not going to go teach a clinic. And my sister would have been like, "Just go, like get on with it." That would have really been a bit her personality. And it was at that clinic that I met Jennifer Mosing. I was teaching her daughters, and that was the start of my partnership and friendship with Jennifer, and Jennifer has owned my top horses since. And I mean,
Wow.
nobody will ever convince me that my sister wasn't up there, or
How many
helping with that.
how
And
many horses do you,
Jennifer's
how many horses do you have going right now?
I have got 6. I've got some young ones coming up, and then I've got one that I own with a friend of mine, just a thoroughbred that has been kind of a fun project. And then I've got the 3 big guys, and then one horse that's hopefully going to move up to intermediate this summer.
I want to talk about brief lapse you had in your career. You had a major injury, and then you bounced back. And so, can you tell us a little bit what happened, and then how you bounced back? And then I want to lead into how you mentally prepare for cross country after this. So tell us a little bit about that moment in
It
time.
it was in 2015. I had I the horse that I had at Kentucky. Unfortunately, she had a career-ending injury. She was fine she could do flat work and low-level stuff, but she was not going to go back to that level. And so we had talked about getting another horse, and we found one, and he was super, is super. And I got to know him over the summer and did I think I did a preliminary and then an intermediate, and he had gone advanced as well, and felt really comfortable. And I was at 5 points horse trials, and nobody's put more hoof prints on the Carolina Horse Park than I have. Just it's right in my backyard, and I ride a lot of horses there, so I was really confident at the venue. And I was having a great go on this horse, and third to last fence, you ran down into there was a puddle of water, and it had a big table in the water, and I saw a good distance to the table and went riding down to it, and the horse left at the lip of the water and didn't quite cover the width of the table, and stumbled on the landing, and I flipped over and kind of was laying there, not really thinking much. And a friend of mine who is in the medical world, he had come to watch, and he came over to me. I was laying down, like laying on my stomach, and I'll never forget, I had kind of lifted up, and he goes, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Is the bone sticking out?" Because I couldn't feel my left leg. I couldn't feel like my leg. I was, adrenaline was going. And he was like, "No, there's no bone sticking out." And I could see him like holding my left arm, and I couldn't feel it. And that freaked me out. He was like, "Don't move." And anyway, fast forward, I ended up breaking C6, C7, and dislodging T1, and got, it's amazing when things happen to people that are in your life that help you out. I got taken to the hospital. A really good friend of mine, they were going to send me to UNC Chapel Hill because I needed to have surgery, and a student of mine and family friend, her dad was actually at that competition to watch, and he had gone to medical school at Duke, and he called the dean at Duke and said, "Who's on spine and neck?" And they go, "Melissa Erickson." He was like, "You got to get a friend of mine in." And they were like, people come from all over the world to see this surgeon. And as luck would have it, she did my surgery. And
How long were you in traction?
say that again.
How long were you out of competition? How long were you in traction where you weren't riding?
Yeah, so I couldn't ride for 6 months, but I was feeling really good. So at 5 months, I started doing flat work.
That's a typical horse person.
And then at 6 months, I got cleared to jump, and I got told that, if you fall, and, it's the risk we're all going to take. And, in that 5-6 months leading up to it, well, in the first couple months after, when I'm in, all the neck brace and you can't move, and it's painful. And the thought that did go through my mind, am I going to want to do this? Am I going to lose my nerve? Um,
Mm,
and I had to be okay with that possibility, and I had to be real honest with myself. And I think the one of the saving graces was it was such a freak fall. It's not like
yeah.
it's not like, you've seen some people, or you've seen a fall, or you've had a fall, and you're like, well, I saw that coming, like I was getting run off with or something. I was having a great round on the horse, and it was just miscommunication. And um, you know, in watching the video and looking back, I I wouldn't have ridden it any different. I don't yeah, I couldn't have trotted it, I couldn't have come into the water a different direction. It was just a big deal. I said to somebody after it happened, I said it was like getting broadsided in the middle of an intersection because somebody else ran a red light. Like,
Yeah.
it was wild. And I do think that that helped me, mentally about it. But it was a little eerie. The My first competition back, which was 6 months after the accident, um, and I actually rode the horse that I fell on first. And I remember, like, I was the first horse on course, and I was just doing the preliminary. And I remember circling the start box, and Brian O'Connor was like, "Oh, and about to start cross country. It's great to have Will back." And I got started to get a bit emotional, just because you know, what was I going to feel when I sat out of the box? And luckily, I felt right back at home. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you don't know the emotional tie we have for cross country. And all of a sudden it just kicks in,
yeah,
and I hate the wait before cross country. It is the worst timing.
yeah,
It just, until you break out of the start box, you feel like, okay, now I'm good. Or for me, it's like sitting in a saddle. If I'm waiting on the tack box, it's just it drives me crazy.
I don't know how many times that people, when I teach clinics and stuff, people will often ask me, "Oh, do you get nervous?" And I laugh because yes, I get very nervous. I know how to handle my nerves. But and I think a lot of it too really depends on the horse you're sitting on. For me, it depends on the horse I'm on and the partnership I have with them, and the
Yeah.
feel that I get on 'em. I didn't get nervous that it was going to be bad, like with Antigua. I was nervous that I was going to screw his record up. That's what I would get nervous. I had a horse that I did. I jumped around a couple 5 stars on her, and I got God. I remember one year at Kentucky, I was like walking down to the start box, and I was so nervous because she tried so hard, um, but she would struggle sometimes at like or I had this worry that she would struggle, like not the distance, but with the size and width of the fences that
Mm.
long. And she was an amazing cross country horse. And I remember Bobby Costello, my longtime coach and good friend, was walking from the warm up in that 5-minute walk down to the start box at Kentucky. And I'm like walking down the start box, and I can't remember the announcer's name, but what is anyway, she's wonderful, and she's got like the most calming voice. And I remember hearing her voice come on the
I don't
loudspeaker.
know her name either, but I love
Yeah,
her voice.
she's like,
I always want to know, what did it look like behind that magic
yeah,
voice?
yeah. And I
But
remember
I
her.
don't want it to ruin it.
I remember her. I was walking down, and I remember her. And next to start is Will Faudree and Andrew Mack. Andrew Mack. And I remember looking at Bobby, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And Bobby was like, you have to go, Will. You have to go. And I was like, I don't want to go. This is not smart. And he was like, Will, you're fine. Yeah. And then once I was out of the start box, I was fine. And she jumped around amazing. She was so good. And I don't know,
You you
but
you touched on a certain fear that I think all of us can relate to. You mentioned the fear of putting a penalty on Antigua's perfect cross country score. Do you feel like now, you're getting wiser with age, and have your fears changed?
Um, yes, and a lot of it depends on the horse. And I've worked a lot in the last. Um, really, I broke my neck in 2015. When I came back in 2016, I kind of struggled through that year. I had some good success at the beginning of 2016, and um, then I hit this kind of weird spot in what am I doing this for anymore?
Mm.
I had that mental thing of, am I gonna want to do this? Am I gonna be able to come back and do this? And I did that, and then I won a 4 short on fun at Fair Hill, and then I didn't get shortlisted for the Olympics that year, which I shouldn't have. But that it was the first team since 2002 that I hadn't been shortlisted for. So I had been on, and so that really hit me differently. And I had to say, who am I doing this for? Am I doing this to make teams, or am I doing this for myself? And so I
Okay.
really started working with a sports psychologist, and um, Ab Lufkin, who competed and is a friend of mine, and I've worked religiously with her. At first, in the first year, I was talking with her every couple of weeks, and now I check in with her once a month. And yeah, I'll have fears, but it's my reaction to that fear. And she helped me a lot. I remember a couple of years ago there was a few rider fatalities, and I said to her, I was it was right before no, it was right when I got back from, this was in 2019. I had just come back from Mill Street. I took Fun to Mill Street. He had done Kentucky 5 star, and then I went to Mill Street and did the 4 long in Ireland. And I went there, and I needed to figure out if I could go fast. And I had this, like, I was so nervous before that cross country. He had a little bit of a cough. I had had blood work done on him. I had had vets listen to him. I everything. I had Tim Brennan, our one of the team vets that is based in England, or based in, well, he's in England, but he was obviously in Ireland there. Like, I was in the warm up on cross country, and like he listened to him, and he was like, "Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go." And I went out and I jumped around clear inside the time, but I told Ab after that, and I said it was the only thing, and people will laugh at this, the only thing that got me like to focus on what I needed to go do was right after he listened to him. I was in the warm up. I was like looking for any reason to withdraw this horse. Like, I
Yeah.
was convinced one of us was gonna die. Like, and I couldn't. And the only thing that got me going was the Taylor Swift was playing over the intercom. You need to calm down. And I was like, oh my God, if that's not a friggin' sign, I don't know what it is. And I went out, and I was the only one to come home clear inside the time. And the reason why I'm telling the story was when I spoke to Ab about that, I really talked about, like, I had this real fear of death at that event, and there had been some rider fatalities, and I I was talking with her about it, and we circled it back to, she goes, well, when there is a bad accident, what happens? What do you do? And you know I, we talked, and I told her some things that I do, and basically it reverted back to, and I said to her, I go, I hate when people say, so they die doing what they love. I hate that people
Mm.
should die doing what you love. And she goes, that's really interesting, why do you say that? And I said, I don't know. And she was like, just sit with it. And I had this wave of emotion that hit me. And my sister died while I was doing what I loved. I was trying to go to the Olympic Games in Hong Kong. And so I
Wow.
missed the last summer of my sister's life doing what I loved, chasing a dream, chasing my dream. And she died while I was doing what I loved. And it was amazing how the psychology of that resorted back. And so whenever I have a, a fear of failure, or a fear of, death is such a hard word, but I'm it's a reminder of what that represents to me. And in some cases, in that, if I have that, the death word, it's a representation of my sister being in my life. And
Yeah.
she would have convinced me to go do what you love. I remember her on the phone. Don't you come home. You get to Hong Kong. You know, and so it's a really, the sports psychology side um of competition now is, I'm a huge advocate of it, because um I think it's really healthy to have fears. I think it's really healthy to have nerves. Um and they can range from, you know, I mean, I talk with, I'm not going to go into, my nerves for the dressage and how I deal with that, because I don't want to bore people. But, like,
Yeah.
it's having control, thinking in slow motion and having control what I can have control over. So I think it's healthy
Yeah.
to have nerves, I think, nerves and fears, and I think you meet those head on and
Well,
overcome them.
you made a hell of a comeback, including just recently. Just a couple weeks ago, you did the Land Rover Kentucky 5-star, and your cross country round was amazing. That's one thing I admire different riders for different reasons, and your cross country is fantastic. You usually, your equitation, your calm, you have just a beautiful balance. You're out of your horse's way. You do throw a beautiful cross country round. And can you tell us about your latest mount? Is it Mama's Magic Way at
Magic way.
the 5-star?
Yeah, poor Mason. Everybody thinks he's a girl, but he's not. He is uh he's amazing. He has done that was my best dressed outfit. I can't believe I got best dressed, but I'll take it. He is a horse that I got in 2018. Um and a friend of mine who's in Germany called me and said, "Oh my God, you've got to come look at this horse." And she sent me a video of it, and I was like, "Oh my God, it jumps over its shoulder, all this stuff." And she was like, "No, no, no, you've got to go see it." And so I was looking at another horse with a client, and I was over there, and I sat on him, and he was bred by this lovely lady, and she had competed him and up to pre-novice, so our training level. And then Andreas Dabowski had, I guess she had gone to him for lessons, and so he took over. He was going to take over the ride, and he did a couple of um, now 2 stars shorts on him, and then I got him, and um, he he is a comedian through and through. The girls in the barn joke around and say that we are basically the same person, because I describe him as a 3-year-old little boy on a sugar high in a toy store all the time. Um, but he is just so amazingly talented and work ethic, and I'm so excited about him. And I went back and forth this year of, God, do I take him to Kentucky or not? Because I did one 2-star long on him, which he won at Virginia in 2019. And then I did the 3-star long at Fair Hill. Um, and then he moved up to advanced in at Pine Top in 2020, and then COVID hit. Um, and I think the COVID time was a really good time for me and him, because I was able to really train on him, um, and really get him get him get on the same page and get going. And then he's a very good cross country horse.
What breed is he?
He's by Mighty Magic, and out of uh, mostly thoroughbred mare. Um,
Hmm.
so
It's gorgeous to look at.
yeah, he's got a lot of blood in him. Um, and and then I did try on last fall on him. And so I went back and forth. Like, he's only 10 this year. Um, but I was like, you know, Jersey fresh. I just, he had jumped around the 4 shorts this spring, just in unbelievable form. And originally my plan was to try and take him to Burley. That's him in a nutshell right there. Um, uh, I really wanted to take him to Burley because I think he's a Burley horse through and through. And so I thought, well, Kentucky would be a better prep for Burley,
Yeah.
even if I have to take a long way or something like that. But from the moment I walked the course, there was nothing that I was like, that he hadn't seen some sort of, exercise, um, that either I had set up at home or he had seen in competition. And talk about like nerves. I was really excited to go out on him.
That's awesome. How did this year's Kentucky compare to other Kentuckys and other 5 stars you've done?
Um, when I walked the course, the first time, it looked like it was big, but it walked very, very technical. And Derek DeGrazia is amazing because he always designs these tracks that you're thinking, how are we going to present this? And then the horses really, if ridden properly, the horses really understand them. And so I thought it walked big, and I thought it walked technical. And I went in the pouring rain, and
See it.
it was downpouring when I went. And I didn't have to go any long routes on him. He was just super from start to finish. But I said to Bobby Costello afterwards, I said, that was the biggest 5-star I've jumped in a long time. I mean, it ranked up with Burley, in my opinion. I mean, it rode. He really used the terrain this year. I always think it's harder, or it's interesting. We got to the head of the lake at minute 4, and but then we got to the the coffin, and the coffin was a proper coffin at minute 9. So you had to be smart. You had to ride smart all the way up to the end. And I mean, Mason, he thought it was so fun, and he could have
That's
gone
some,
again.
I just looking at your expression and you and all your cross country pictures, you look like you're just so calm and you've got this. So
Yeah.
good on you.
I'm so excited about him. He's he's a really, really, really cool horse and so talented. And I have a really good bond with him.
Just to just kind of go back, when we mentioned the 5 stars and the 4 stars, can you just in your own way, what's the biggest difference that you find between the 4 star and the 5 star?
Um, the biggest difference would be, on the cross country, is there is no let up. Like, you've got to have the horses you have to treat those fly fences. They're big, and you have to use those so that the horses land with more confidence than when they leave the ground. And at the 4 stars, they're still big, but your tables might not be as wide. And so I think that you can have, and that extra minute on the cross country. Your 4 stars are 10 to 10 minutes and 15-20 seconds, and your 5 stars are going to be over 11 minutes. That extra minute is a lot, and you have to know your horse, and you have to start out and really listen and feel where, are they breathing, are they, what all are they taking in, so that you have a horse.
it just seems so noticeable, like in the first minutes, that all the fences are max and the horses are a little shocked all of a sudden. We're going, wait a minute, where's the let up fence?
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the way your horse marched around that Kentucky in that rain, um, he just looked at it like, whatever, Dad, I'm doing it.
No, he loves it, and he's so fun. He goes in a French link snaffle all three phases, um, and um, he loves it. He thinks it's the coolest thing in the world, and so yeah.
I see you have the skull and crossbones on your tie there.
Yep.
And you have skull and crossbones everywhere. Um, so tell us briefly about what that symbolism is for.
Well, kind of back to 2016 when I had that conversation with myself of who am I doing this for? Um, and I really had to find my own, if I wasn't doing it to just get on every team, I obviously wasn't doing it for that, but when I was not shortlisted, that hit me differently. And I really, needed, I'm a very symbolic person. So I wanted I wanted a battle flag. I wanted something that I could, I wanted a battle flag. And um, I, as a kid, loved the movie The Goonies, and Goonies never die. And
Awesome.
I was always a little bit partial to Captain Hook and Peter Pan. I always thought he was misunderstood. Um, and a lost boy that did grow up, which sometimes I feel like I am. So the Jolly Roger really is an important symbol to me. And looking at the history of the symbolism of that, it was a flag that a pirate would only raise going into battle, and the only thing that could trump that was the white flag for surrendering, and I'm not going to surrender yet. So yeah.
Well, I always see it when you're at competitions, you're focused and you look like you're out for battle. So, so any thoughts on Tokyo?
Hopefully they happen. I mean, I think they will. I don't know. I did not. I had fun. My gray horse unfortunately had a little bit of an injury at Carolina. He's back in work now, but that kept him out of Kentucky. And I thought, I didn't know how Mason was gonna come through the spring, but he came out of Kentucky in really good form. He is a horse that, if selected to go, we will go and bring home a medal, because
Yeah, we need it.
pirates go after treasure chests, so I definitely would be coming home with something.
That's it.
But if I'm called up to do it, I'm ready to go. And if not, if I'm, he's a 10-year-old horse, and having what he's done this spring, I would have complete confidence in to take that on. But I've been doing this long enough now. I've been the reserve at a lot of Olympic games, 3 Olympic games.
Well, it sounds like you're enjoying the sport for what it is too.
Absolutely.
That's
You
really
have
cool.
to. You have to do
Yeah.
it for the day
I
in
like
out.
I like to ask you 3 fun questions to end off with.
Okay.
What's your favorite book?
I read a lot. If I had to pick a favorite book, it would have to be Cormac McCarthy's All the Pretty Horses. I've read that one the most. I love his writing style. I was a creative writing major in college, and you can almost taste the landscape in his description. It's I think he's a beautiful writer. But I read a lot. I love memoirs. I'm currently reading Broken Horses by Brandy Carlisle, and that's excellent. I read actually this book, Green Lights. That was the last Matthew McConaughey, which that was also.
Oh yeah, I heard about that one too. Yeah,
it's excellent. It is funny. It is. You won't be able to put it down. And actually,
good.
a book that I read over the summer that I would highly recommend is Jenna Bush Hager's Everything Beautiful in Its Time. It was a cool book to read, especially with the political atmosphere that we're all in, regardless of what camp you're on. It was just a really Everything Beautiful in Its Time. So those would be some of my top picks.
Excellent. Do you have a favorite joke?
Probably none that I could tell on here. Yeah, no,
That's fair to say.
Yeah. I mean, I joke around a lot, but
Well, I'll have to share one then. I just heard recently that's really kind of cute and funny. What did one strawberry say to the other strawberry? If you weren't so fresh, we wouldn't be in this jam. So just share.
yeah.
All right, one last question. What is the last thing or words of advice you want to hear before setting out to cross country?
That I want to hear, or that I say to myself.
Yeah, what'd you say to yourself?
If you can't be good, be lucky.
There you go. Well, where can people look you up and find out more about you, Will?
There's a Facebook page, Will Faudree Eventing, and then I'm on Instagram, which I think it's just Will Faudree. It's not. There's Will Faudree Eventing is on there. It's like my last name and then 3 E's. It's FAUDREE Eventing. So.
I see.
So yeah. So Facebook, Instagram. I'm not huge on social media. Christina, the girl in the picture there, she's my head groom, and she's awesome. And she and another girl that they've managed, Jamie Meese and Christina, do all the Facebook and Instagram stuff. And
yeah,
I get on.
Well, I know you're a workaholic, Will, and really appreciate the time you're spending with us, and appreciate you sharing your story, and can't wait till we meet up in person again.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be very glad when all this is over.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Will, and best of luck in the future, huh?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that's a wrap. Will, I'll give you a call afterwards here.
All right.